welcome to Anonymous Animators Review, where today we're reviewing Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, one of my favorite animes. I'm Wesley Boone.
I'm Emily Strasser.
And we're going to hop straight into it. So I'm going to start by saying that this anime, I've seen this anime like 3 times now. This is the 3rd time I've watched it. I believe it's your first time.
Yep.
And yeah, so basically I introduced it to Emily by saying it's a show about robots that just get bigger, right? I mean, obviously it's more complex than that, but yeah, I just said, like, there's always a bigger robot.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much episode 1, he turns to me, before we even start, I think, he just turns to me and goes, remember, there's always a bigger robot.
Right.
And I'm like, what are you talking about, Wesley? And then we get to the end of the anime, and I remember just turning to him and going something like, dang it, Wesley, why are these robots so big?
Yeah, so... yeah, it's a little sort of obviously those who have watched it will understand, and I mean this is going to be a spoiler episode, which I will have put the warning up on the channel. Basically, it starts off, Simone is digging, the main character Simone, and Kamina. The robots are basically as follows. There's the robot head that he finds, right? The Lagann, or is it Gurren?
No, it's Lagann.
Yeah. Then they find a bigger robot, which they merge with Gurren, becoming Gurren Lagann, and Lagann is obviously the separate robot. So that's a bigger robot. That's about, it's got like in its chest, it's about the size of a human, because Lagann is about the size of a human. It can hold a human in its headpiece, right? And then
maybe 2 if one of them sits on it.
Well, they kind of like cramped, like they had like 3 of them in there at one stage, right? And so they, but pretty much it's a pretty big, like say it's the size of a car, okay? And then the Lagann gets
like a
really
smart
big.
car, not a car.
Yeah. With Lagann, you're looking at probably like maybe a 10-story high robot, right? And so this is where it starts getting crazy, because then you fight, I believe. They find, because when they find, what's the name of the beast bad guy, Viral or Viral, however you want to. They always, because I mean Simone is spelled Simon and Viral is spelled Viral, but they call it this weird name. But yeah, so they fight his robot, which is a bit bigger, because it's when they first find it, they're like, ooh, wow, that's a big robot, and that's why they merge with Simone to make this bigger robot.
Right.
And that was quite funny too. Remember when Kamina was like, merge with me, Simone, and I love it when they make girls love, like sort of boy on boy love. It's always like that blush. So then you got that bigger robot that they fight off, and then they find this giant mountain-sized robot, which is a gunship type of thing, and then that's what they capture, and so that becomes like the next piece. And that's the size of a mountain. And then they find like a bigger robot, which is the size of a city, I guess. It's that giant face thing.
Yeah, that was creepy.
Right. And then after that, it's Ark, which is bigger than the main city. They create Gurren Ark. Then they create the Gurren, because I can't remember what Lord Genome calls the moon.
The moon one, I don't remember that.
But yeah, so they merge with Ark to create that, and then they merge with this thing that's the size of a moon, like our moon. It's like, that's how big this thing is. And then that's the one that then flies out, and then they turn that into a robot, right? But when do they get... Oh, right, no, they turn that into a bipedal robot because it required all that energy. And then that's pretty big too, where to the point they're actually throwing planets at each other as weapons.
Yeah.
And then they get so much spiritual, like so much of the energy, the spiral energy, that they then create the one that's about the size of a galaxy. And that's the biggest one.
And that was when I saw because they kept zooming out like the planets, and then you just see all these galaxies, and then there's the robot, and there's all the galaxies in the background, and that's when I turned to Wesley, just with this rage of like, why is this robot so big? I can't even comprehend how big this robot is.
Yeah, and it's, oh man, I just loved it, because I love the ridiculousnly of it, right? Because obviously, I feel personally, I don't know how true this is, but I feel the idea behind that was, as we when I mentioned this to you yesterday, I feel the idea that they were going for was, look at this ridiculous thing we can do, but still tell a pretty good story. Because the story of Gurren Lagann is pretty intense, right? It's the sort of the subjugation of people, well, not really subjugation, but they were sort of forced underground.
There's, I guess, suppression would be a good
suppression
word.
of this race, and then they break out. They drill out of it, and they just have this energy and this purpose to them that they fight against every sort of level of suppression that's holding them back. And and as we just found out, apparently, I didn't know this until now, there are 2 movies that, and I'm guessing that would I'm hoping one of them explains what the spiral nemesis is, or something. I don't know. You can see at the end of it, they didn't quite finish everything that they wanted to, but we also, again, just found out now that if they had continued the show after episode 26, it would have bankrupted them. Well, not necessarily bankrupted them, but it definitely would have started costing them money. They pushed the budget for this show to the very, very end that they could have. There's no way.
Which it did make sense, because I was thinking, especially toward the end, the animation quality just jumped up significantly. They're having they're having these big complex robots doing these really complex fighting choreography, just all these fighting scenes, and I'm like, I remember sitting there when did the animation get so good?
Yeah, because admittingly, the animation starting off was pretty standard. I don't think it was terrible, but it was standard. And then there was that one episode that was apparently guest directed where the I didn't like the animation in there at all, to be honest. That's my opinion, and it's a stylized choice, but I didn't like it because there was a lot of where the mouth would move and then the face would react, but the head doesn't move. You know what I mean? Or there was parts where the body would move in such a way, but it didn't make sense. And again, stylistic choice, not my favorite. I didn't like it. It sort of, it didn't appeal to me. But coming through, getting back from there, as the show progresses, yes, I feel the quality does move up with it.
Yeah, I do feel there is a part of the anime where it's 7 years later, and it does kind of feel it's the same characters. They're just older. It's the same story, but I don't know. It felt like the aesthetic was so much different.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, it's a different world 7 years later than it was, but I don't know. There was definitely something they felt a little bit more comfortable with telling the story that they wanted to in the second half of it than they did in the first half.
Yeah. It definitely comes off, I feel, the second half of the story, the 7 years later, is more refined, is maybe more planned. Maybe what it is even is, and again, speculation on my part, because we did a bit of research into the show, and we found a couple of facts and trivia points, but nothing that really sort of, backs up my claim here. But maybe what it was is the middle of the story was more refined, the person who created it knew exactly what they wanted to say there. And as we found out, there's a lot of information that's missing from the anime that they put into the movies. So most likely they could refine that a lot better, because those were the episodes that were coming later, and they had to do what they could in the beginning, because as we know as animators, production is a son of a bitch. It's and I don't even know what it's like in Japan from a Western standpoint, from Western animation. And don't get me wrong, I'd love to do Japanese anime at some point.
We'll live on minimum wage. You realize that, right?
Don't we already? I don't think anybody likes paying animators.
Yeah.
But well, it's an expensive medium, right? And you have to find that balance.
Right. But I mean, we need to eat too.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, well, again, that's where that balance needs to be found. But right now, I guess the production staff doesn't care.
I have no complaints about my job. But...
And as we know, we've seen this on the internet all the time. I've seen this with even non-animator artists. Artists love to sell themselves short.
Yeah.
We, in any form, in the professional field, and we will work for peanuts because we believe eventually if you keep working and pushing it, you'll eventually be qualified, quote unquote, enough to get more money. But I don't know, I think in Japan it's way stricter, because there's lots of animators who, if you're not a lead animator, you're not getting anything.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing too. So.
And for the most part, it's the same thing here. If you're not a lead or a senior, you're not going to be. You're just not going to have you're not going to have as much money coming in, because you're not that valuable. You're like the first 5 years you're part of the dime a dozen crew.
Yeah.
So it's, but anyway, the point what I was trying to make is I just feel they had better time through production, to refine the story that they wanted to tell for that last bit, and maybe even the writer of the story had that more planned out, and then they had to add like sort of a little bit of a history as to building up to that point, like how did they get that robot and everything. Let's not just start them off with these robots. I don't know if you feel the same.
Just I don't know, like I couldn't, because I watched Kill la Kill before this one, which, by the way, if you've seen Kill la Kill, it did really spike in popularity sometime last year.
Yeah, well, I think it was quite popular while it was airing.
Yeah, like
people like from Japan or whoever they were sending it to us, and we were basically watching it a week after it aired.
Yeah, I don't even think it's been dubbed yet. I think it's still, like, because when I watched,
I'm not sure about that. I think it might be. But
oh, really?
That's also just me. I'm not 100% sure. It's like one of those things where, because I have a friend who watches anime, but he only he hates watching subbed anime, of that person. It's usually the other way around. Yeah, no, he prefers listening to it in English.
Oh, you might be right, because I think I was hearing something about it being aired on Adult Swim, whatever. I just watched it on Netflix, and they only had the Japanese dub, so I had to watch it in subtitles. But anyway, that doesn't matter. I couldn't help but make parallels between this one and Kill la Kill.
Oh yeah.
Just because, like, it felt like it's like Gurren Lagann is to mecha anime as Kill la Kill is to just, I don't know, what would you compare it to?
Kill la Kill is like,
it's not really,
because they've both got that Dragon Ball Z element to it again, which I think is what they're parodying. It's like with Gurren Lagann, it's like this ridiculous concept of this spiritual energy, the energy of fighting, the energy of will, the spiral energy they call it, so there's a scientific explanation for it, but it's just that, it's just them. And the same thing with Kill la Kill, it's them wearing the suit that powers them up, but that suit also requires their, she only gets more stronger when she's not embarrassed by wearing the outfit.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the outfit itself still gives her strength, but that's, she can draw more strength out of it as long as she's not embarrassed by it. And so the same thing with Kill la Kill. I mean, Gurren Lagann, where they boost that energy. I don't know exactly what I would compare it to, because it's still sort of that, it's really just, it's a fighting anime, but where a lot of fighting anime, I don't know, I never finished watching Bleach, and Bleach did have a pretty serious storyline. There was a lot of the time it was just this ridiculous, I'm more powerful than you, now I'm even more powerful than you. And that's what keeps happening. The same thing in Dragon Ball Z. In Kill la Kill and Gurren Lagann, they do the same thing. There's also they're just going to win by the skin of their teeth. But they do it with a lot better animation. I think both Kill la Kill and Gurren Lagann, way better animation than, say, the original Dragon Ball Z stuff. Dragon Ball Z was very cut out in its own way.
Yeah.
And so I just feel that's coming back to what I was trying to say earlier, is I just feel with Gurren Lagann, they want to take that element, they want to take that ridiculousness, they want to take the floppy boobs of Yoko, they want to, the bouncy female characters, they're there. And I mean, Japan anime is a little bit more misogynistic, because they don't really feel the same way about that type of stuff that we do, or the West does. I mean, they still have stories now that are coming out strongly suggesting that the man has to protect the woman. That's just how it is,
Yeah.
Even in Gurren Lagann, I mean, which was I think 2004.
I think it was 2007, actually. Let me check that.
Well, you have, anyway.
Yeah, I do.
But my point being is the well, I don't know why I went off on that, but the whole
2007.
Okay, 2007. It was, yeah. But yeah, the idea is, what I'm trying to say is, I feel the idea is they're trying to show you that you can have these characters, you can have the screaming, powering up goofy characters, you can have the titillating woman fan service, you can have all these things, and you can make it look good, but you can still tell a very interesting story, you can still tell a compelling or emotionally driven story. Because I love this anime.
Yeah.
You take away Yoko, you replace Yoko with a dude. I'm not going to not watch it. You know, you take away. I mean, the screaming and the powering up and the, you know, like, that's part of it. It's probably part of why Dragon Ball Z is so popular, because we love that oh, they're gonna make it, you know, because we do love that. And I mean, they're gonna make it. Obviously they're gonna make it. They have to make it. They're the main characters. And I don't like the anime or the stories that are like, oh, will the main characters make it? Wink, and then they die because of some stupid reason. Because to me that's also ridiculous. I'm not watching this to be, you know, sad or annoyed by or whatever. It's like I'm watching this because it's exciting. I love the underdog story. I love people banding together and fighting against adversity, you know, and that's what this is. And they tell a really interesting story of people just standing together and people just fighting for themselves, and it's ridiculous. It is, because I'm not going to stand here and scream and power up and then be able to overcome the problems I have for the day. That's not how we in real meat space sort our problems out. But it's fun to watch. It's great to watch. It's compelling, and you can take away chunks of story and allegory from this, and that make you feel better about yourself. You know.
You know, when I was, especially toward the end, I was thinking to myself about how it speaks to the arrogance of the human race.
Oh, for sure.
That we think of ourselves as just this, you know, our human spirit is just so powerful that we can overcome any adversity. And to me, that's like a bit arrogant, but at the same time, that's also like a really motivational message. Is just like, you're human, you have all of this potential to be great, so be great.
Yeah.
Build the giant galaxy big robot.
Yeah, I mean, even the anti-spirals, who are pretty much the ultimate enemy in this, pretty much say like, oh, because of this hubris that we've hoisted ourselves on, we're going to destroy the universe with the spiral energy. You know, it's a problem. And yeah, you're right. It is sort of this attitude of us where we're just so gosh darn cocky that why wouldn't we be able to do all these things? And even Simone says, I think at one stage, is like, who do you think we are? The human race isn't that stupid that we would destroy the universe. Yes, we are, because we're destroying our own planet at this point, you know. And it is very fairy tale-ish in that regard. But at the same time, that's not what they're trying to say. They're not. The attitude is, yeah, we probably would screw up to a point, but we will come back, because that's what we're doing. We've screwed up the planet and we're trying to fix it. You know, we're just fighting against ourselves to fix it, but, you know, we're fixing it.
Well, I think given in the context of the story, like, I don't know, like, I definitely got very emotionally invested in the characters, because I love Kill la Kill, and I just remember, the only memory I have of this anime is that they were playing it on Adult Swim at some point, and I watched the second half of an episode. And it's pretty early in the anime where, like, Kamina and Yoko are talking and they're robots and Simone was doing something. It was the episode before, can I give that spoiler away? When he dies?
Probably not a good spoiler to give away.
Okay.
But there's a significant event that happens.
Yes, there's a significant event that happens before a very, like, what was it?
It's basically when they capture the main base.
Yeah, like, and then something very dramatic happens that completely turns the entire anime on its head. And believe me, when that, because I watched an episode, like half an episode before that, and that was my only impression of it, and Kill la Kill hadn't been made yet, so I was like, I don't know what this anime is, but everyone's talking about it, but I'm not really interested in it. Too far into it for me to get into it, and yeah. So, yeah, but believe me, like, because I know Wesley, I was expecting ridiculousness. I was expecting ridiculousness throughout.
Well, I mean, this whole anime is over the top.
So, when it pulls a Madoka Magica on me, I was like, I turned to him and I go, what? What just happened? I do not expect this kind, like, this kind of thing from you, which, by the way, if, Madoka is to magical girl anime as Evangelion is to mecha anime, if you've never seen it. I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorites.
Because a lot of the time... Yeah, okay, so just to sort of what you were asking earlier about, like, what anime you would compare Kill la Kill to, the genre it includes itself is magical girl. So because of the outfit change, right? You would think.
I was thinking that, like, but I didn't want to say it because it's so far removed from magical girl anime.
Yeah. Like, now, also just to sort of clear something up. Now, I was under the impression that Kill la Kill was by the same people, not necessarily the same company, but the same people who did Gurren Lagann. But I'm finding not much evidence for that, so just to sort of clear that up.
Okay.
It is different teams or different groups of people. But yeah, for the most part, because one is Gynex and the other one is Trigger. But I was just under the impression, I'm pretty sure I heard a while ago, because that's how Kill la Kill was sold to me. Somebody came up to me and told me, oh, a lot of people who worked on Gurren Lagann worked on this.
Oh, well, it could be something like misinformation, right? Like, because it's kind of like when Coraline came out and everyone was saying, oh, Tim Burton came out with a new movie. Coraline is not a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah.
Neither is Box Trolls or Nine or what was the other one that everyone is like, oh, it's Tim Burton.
I guess every time it comes to like sort of that puppet thing or that stop motion, everybody just automatically assumes.
Or like that kind of
Nightmare
weird.
Before Christmas,
yeah, right? Which, by the way, Tim Burton did not direct Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, he came up with the story, but he didn't.
It's still his baby. Like, he came up with most of the characters and the concept, but he didn't direct it.
Yeah. Okay, well, so just to sort of clear that misinformation, I'll do some proper research into that for myself at some point, but yeah, at this point, no. They are not by the same companies, not even by the same teams for that matters, but I feel I would definitely still put the two together in the same category of like this, taking this ridiculous concept. Because also a lot of the time, like shows like Kill la Kill, which we should really have our own little discussion about, but shows like Kill la Kill or Kill la Kill is very, they tend to be very, because that's what it was. It was very titillating, right? Her outfit was very revealing. There was lots of bounce everywhere. But it told a pretty hardcore story, like a very compelling story that you wanted to know what happened next. You wanted to know who killed who and who did what and all that stuff.
And the characters, I love the characters in Kill la Kill. Like, Mako is friggin' adorable. Mako X Gamagori forever, my OTP.
For sure.
So
yeah, and yeah, so but I mean, circling back to Gurren Lagann, at this point in the story, we before we sort of get to the point that Emily was making, there's a lot of sort of little weird misadventures that they have, because the first half of Gurren Lagann, sort of before the 7-year split. The first half there's still a lot of little misadventures that they have, because they've got a swimsuit episode, or like the hot springs episode they've technically got, which just turns like I don't know, because there's one or two episodes that just feel out of place. Like why does this happen? I understand the hunting sequences because they need to get food, but then they get captured in the sauna, this hot springs, and then. It doesn't really solve anything because they're still in the, it kind of feels like, oh, we wanted this episode, but then they didn't really merge it together. That's how that felt. It felt very disjointed.
It did kind of feel very episodic in the beginning. You know what episode really stuck out to me was the episode where they go into the underground, like, really religious society, which is interesting because it's actually a very important plot point, because that's where they pick up Rossio and the two kids.
Yeah, and that's also how Rossio then later on acts.
Yeah, and it's like, but that episode, like, in the context of the anime prior to the 7-year split, like, it felt very non sequitur. Like, I mean, Rasu and the two kids are incredibly important characters, especially toward the end, Rasu especially. But it was like, I don't know, it was so much darker than the other episodes.
It could be what was happening, again, my assumption, is what happened there was that was a part that they needed, because they need Rossio, they need those kids. Those are characters that they're going to bring in. But they like, maybe it was one of those things where they had to, because I know sometimes anime does this, where they have 24 episodes and they spend 20 episodes just messing around, doing whatever the heck they please, and then the last 4 episodes they try and cram in the actual story. And that always annoys me. I'm having a hard time sort of coming up with one, but I know it does happen. Like Full Metal Panic actually did that to me.
Really?
Not the first season, but the second season. I think there were 13 episodes in the second season. The first 10 episodes, there was 1 or 2 episodes that like didn't need to exist. And then the last 3 episodes, and then during that time, when that anime came out, there was a lot of anime doing the same thing, because at one stage I was watching a lot of anime, and then I just kind of stopped because I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, it does. You know what it does feel like to me? It feels a little bit like, after the first episode where they break out of this underground society and now they have this big surface world, it kind of feels like they're reenacting a kind of Wild Wild West kind of like, ooh, look at all this shiny stuff on the surface. Let's do everything.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of what it felt like to me. But it definitely feels like, what do you say, the change, the big dramatic thing happens and everything changes. What episode was that?
Probably it's still pretty early. Like it's like half of the first part, so around about episode 9.
Okay, yeah.
I would say. I wouldn't know exactly. But anyway, why? What?
Oh, just because it feels like after, just after I'm gonna call it pulling a Madoka, which, if you ever get into, I'm not gonna give away anything because we should really do that one, because that one's one of my favorites. But
well, I would need to rewatch it again.
Yeah, I recently watched the movies, which the first 2 movies are just basically the anime in movie form. It's literally the episode, but instead of waiting for the next episode to load, it's just the whole thing straight through, and then the last movie, which actually tries to wrap up the story, but that's another time. Anyway, so it does kind of feel like to me the first 7 or 10 episodes before the big dramatic change happens, it does kind of feel like it's just very episodic. Everyone's just kind of goofing around. Things are fun and adventurous, and then that episode happens, and it does feel like the entire anime shifts. Like the feel of it, and it does feel like it's starting to get more focused on what it is that they're trying to do. I don't know, that was just my impression of it. And then, of course, the 7-year split happens, and it changes even more. But I don't know. I kind of like that emotional aspect of it, but that's just me. Which is why I was surprised, because you don't like sad things.
No, not usually. Like, don't get me wrong. Let's clear that up. I don't like manipulation, like manipulated to be sad type of thing. Like I don't like something that's like, oh, look how terrible this is and how sad it. Like the anime that I think of that really drives this point home is that one of that girl with the pink hair, and she has like these invisible arm things.
Oh, Elfen Lied.
Like that one, I don't know, man. It was like somebody found a teenager's like all the saddest things ever, and then made an anime about it. I don't know. It was just like that's what it felt like to me, and I don't like that. I don't like sort of like people just like, this is a sad thing, and I'm going to show it to you just to make you sad. Whereas in Gurren Lagann, I feel the sad moments amplify the entire story. It's like they happen, and it drives everyone like bigger and stronger and crazier and further. And they're sad, and you don't. It sucks, but it's like, yeah, I understand, and it's part of the story.
Yeah. In fact, after the huge dramatic change happens, like a lot of the main characters, they have to spend a couple of episodes just being sad. Essentially, it's just like, because it's so traumatic to them that that they're like, I don't know, because the danger of what they're doing suddenly becomes it becomes more apparent, essentially. And they all knew it was dangerous going in. Like pretty early on, Kamina learns that his father died.
Yeah.
And like it's really sad for Kamina, but Kamina being Kamina just decides, okay, well, okay, we just got to keep going, guys.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the overall That's what the overall theme is. It's like, okay, this really sucks, but we gotta keep going.
Yeah, we gotta keep moving. It as human beings, it's that is an important lesson to take away, right? Because we can so easily fall into our self-pity, that we forget to sort of grow a little bit further. Yeah. And that's why I appreciate it, because also naturally I deviate towards things like that. I do want to move forward, and I know myself. I will fall into sort of a pit of where I'm like, I just don't want to do anything anymore, and there's no need to it. So I surround myself with stories like this because, I mean, what is it? There was some guy. He basically has this quote, like, what would your superhero self be doing right now? Like, what would your superhero self do? And that's like, I like that statement. Yeah, I'm not a superhero. But, like, in the situation that I find myself, it's equivalent to the what would Jesus do situation.
Yeah. Or what would Kamina do?
What would Kamina do? That's what I would, yeah, it's like, you push forward, you kick and scream, and you get there to that next level, and I'd rather have that attitude. And I'd rather be surrounded with that attitude because I get shit done with that attitude. Whereas the other attitude of surrounding myself with sad stuff doesn't, for me, for other people it works, maybe, I don't know. But for me, when I'm surrounding myself with sad stuff, I get sad. I remember this other anime I watched also during sort of this time, mostly not because they were made at the same time, but again, I just got a bunch of anime from people, and you go to like LAN parties and you just get anime and just binge watch, binge watch before Netflix and all that stuff. And nerds invented binge watching.
I know because I watched both Madoka and Evangelion during a binge watch, just like 13
Evangelion
hours.
is super sad too.
Yeah,
but it's like it's a type of sadness that like that didn't hold me. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to anyway. But my point is, there was this other anime called She, the Ultimate Weapon. That has to be the saddest fucking story I've ever experienced in my life. And what happened? Like, it's 13 episodes. The first, the subs I got, the fan subs I got, were the first 10 episodes, no problem. And like at the beginning, like the first episode, there was a warning, like, this is a really sad anime, just warning you. First 10 episodes, it was kind of sad. It was because it's a romance story. It's basically there's this war going on, and this girl who's like in love with this guy. They're high school students. They basically sort of are like romantically into each other, but he's like not really. Anyway, it's this whole thing. But there's this war going on, and she is this ultimate weapon, hence the name of the show. She's this weapon. She turns into, like, I don't know, like this jet fighter thing that she goes off. She's like Japan's secret weapon. But you never experience the war. It is literally just the love story between these two characters, right? But the war is being lost. Like, Japan or the world, I don't know. You don't know what the war is, but the war is being lost, obviously. Because she comes back, and she's all tired, and he sort of starts feeling for her. But what happens is, in episode 10, at the end of it, like, the fan subbers like leave a note there saying, listen, seriously, this is a good point to end. You do not need to watch any more of this. This anime is sad. Like, it ends terribly. And I'm like, come on, man, I'm a big boy, I can handle this. I watch episode 11, no problem. Episode 12, no problem. Nothing's happening. Episode 13, I was depressed for a week. I was watching Love Hina and Full Metal Panic Fumafu just to not like roll up into a cocoon. I was watching all this comedy anime, and I'm like, I was just balancing me out. Like, just I was so like,
I have to watch
and
this.
I'm probably being melodramatic. I am, but the point is, it was really fucking sad. Like, holy shit, this is sad, and I didn't like it. I didn't like feeling that sad. I didn't like feeling like I could, so I sort of stay away from that type of stuff. Now, again, not saying I would not watch sad anime. If you can convince me that it's a really good story, like Madoka, I enjoyed Madoka. I think it's a really, really good story. And so it swings back to the sadness of Gurren Lagann. The sad events that happen, I mean, there are, let's say, I would say at least 3 really sad events that happen in the story. The ending, then the major events that we were sort of trying to avoid, like, we don't want to give that, I mean, yeah, we don't want to give that away in case you haven't seen it and you just want to hear people talking about it, because it is an important point. But people who have seen it will know what we're talking about. It's basically the one where they capture the big city. And that event, I felt, like, again, I didn't even feel really sad. I was upset because a great character no longer exists, but, you know, it's like, oh, okay. And then as the story goes, like, you know, the next sad event is one of the bigger battles, you know, towards the end, where, like, at this point, a lot of, like, main characters are actually dying. And secondary characters, not really main characters.
Yeah, you don't really, like, I was upset that they were gone, but it was like, we didn't really spend a lot of time with them, so
even throughout the show, like, they're main characters that we remember, but they're not the main characters.
Yeah.
There's just really the one guy, and he survived right until the end. And, you know, so...
That made me especially sad, actually.
And we also found out that the reason why they were killing off everybody like that was because they just didn't have time to sort of wrap up everything they wanted to. So they were like, okay, well, let's just make this emotional. And to me, that's a little bit of a cheap shot. That's the cheap shots I don't like. You know, it's like, oh, we're killing these guys off to make you sad. And it does feel a little bit like that. Like, there's that one where, those bombs are teleporting in, and the one guy, like, sacrifices himself by, like, impacting the thing. And I'm like, why though?
Yeah.
You know, like, just a few seconds before, the characters were shooting at the thing, so why couldn't they shoot at it? Why did he have to sacrifice himself? And obviously, we find out they did it because they needed to get rid of these guys. Like, they couldn't finish telling their stories. But they didn't have to kill them, from our point of view. The first big death, important. The last big death, important. And then that last ending death, quote-unquote death, important, because they all sort of make sense of the story, but the deaths of the secondary characters didn't hit anything to me, didn't do anything for me. I was like, whatever about it.
Yeah, no, I kind of felt that way about even Attack on Titan, where there's just a lot of these secondary characters, and it's just like, yeah, they're cute and all, but they're gonna die.
Yeah, and again, I know I rag on Attack on Titan, but again, that is what Attack on Titan is designed to be. It's designed to just be a continuously sad story. It's like, it's not like, oh, this character is important in such a way and then we kill him off.
One of them is, I think, but... Okay,
again, I am talking purely through reading scripts and watching only the first episode like 3 times. So I don't know, I haven't read the manga, and I most likely won't. Not because I'm not interested. Well, not because I want to be that guy who's like, fuck this show. It's just I'm not interested. It doesn't pull me in.
Believe me, I tried.
Though I keep hearing from so many people that it is good, and like lots of people also that I value their opinion on anime. I just can't bring myself to watch it, especially when there's so much other stuff I want to watch. You know, like, I don't know. It's maybe one day, maybe we'll even do a review. It's just it's not gonna happen anytime soon.
Okay. Well, I'm rewatching it again because season 2 is coming out next year. So
maybe we can get you and Liz to review it.
We have talked about it. I'm rewatching it specifically for that purpose.
Okay. So we'll get a review, and then like I don't know. I mean, somebody came up told me the other day. I got a mail saying which we really should have actually, because I forget to do the mail call. But I was like, I got a mail saying,
an email?
Yeah, about like my opinion on Gurren Lagann from previous episode. I mean, not Gurren Lagann, on
Attack on
Titan. And they were basically saying a lot of things I was saying was wrong. But it was... I understand that because I haven't seen it, and I am merely voicing an opinion, an uneducated opinion. I can't. It's not something that, like, maybe if I was into, like, that sort of sadness. I mean, another thing I can think of is, remember Snowflake, that pony? Like, in the pony fandom, Wesley, there was this character. Yeah, I hated it.
Don't rag on that character.
I hated that character because it was designed. It was like, hey guys, what are the saddest things? Let's put all the sad things into a hat, and then design a character based around those sad things. And I'm like, that's terrible character creation. That is the worst character creation, because you're just making a sad character for being sad, and then and it's like sadness bait, or whatever you want to call it. And to me, that's what I don't want to Attack on Titan, and I don't want to attack the stupid pony. I just want to tell you that I like Gurren Lagann. I think the story is a lot of fun. I will watch it again in the future. And this is the 3rd time I've watched it, and I really, really enjoy it. In a year or two, if somebody wanted to watch it, I'll watch it with them. Mm-hmm. That's how much I enjoyed it. It is one of I would put it in my top 10 favorite anime. Which is like, I don't know what the order is. I haven't sat down to do it, but like there's Cowboy Bebop in there. You know, I love that. Cowboy Bebop has a very sad ending.
Oh,
but it's not sad. Spike's the thing, the event is sad. The character isn't sad. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? I don't like this bully. Like, it's like I'm being bullied into being sad. It's like, look at the sad thing. And it's like, I'm not sad. And then you know, I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry for ragging on sad things. I like sad things. I do, because I like crying. I do. I really like tearing up. I watch dog movies, and when sad things happen to dogs, but the dog itself isn't sad. The situation the dog finds itself is sad. You know, my dog Skip, or me, myself, and Molly.
Hachiko,
right? The dog is awesome. It's not a blind dog that can't smell and has one fucking paw. That's not what the sadness is. Right? You know, it's you get what I'm saying. It's not like this. I mean, again, Alpha Ned, it was just this character who had this immense fucking power, but was for some reason bound to this man who was abusing her.
Are you talking about Nana? Like,
yeah.
Because there's the... Okay, yeah, I was like...
I mean, she eventually goes psychotic, but I mean, she didn't have to go psychotic. But certain characters didn't have to die. Like, I don't know. Whatever, man. Whatever.
You're on your soapbox.
I'm on a soapbox. And
Wesley doesn't like sad characters.
No, I don't like bullshit sad characters. A character can be sad. There's another anime I watch called Honey and Clover, which I really, really like. And there are people who have terrible lives in that, but the characters have development, and that's great, you know? Like, that's what I want. I don't want, I'm going to run through here, and then, oh shit, my legs got eaten by a giant zombie. It's like, okay, well, good for you.
It's not a giant zombie, it's just a...
Whatever. Oh yeah, a giant creature that eats people just for the sake of eating, because it spits it out later. It doesn't even need it for sustenance. Yeah, no, that's fucking not... Whatever. Yeah. Anyway, we got completely off Gurren Lagann.
You got completely off Gurren Lagann.
Well, you made it. You made me mad.
What did I do?
Talked about stupid animes and
What did I do? You're the one.
Anyway, let's rip back to Gurren Lagann. And, yeah.
That
I don't know.
was like 10 minutes long.
It pretty much was. I apologize, people. I hope at least made you laugh or something.
I'm used to it by now, but you know, like I just give away everything from Attack on.
Remember anime in the 2000s? It was a good show. Yeah, no. Anyway, I don't know. Like, you can tell that I really like Gurren Lagann, and that's what it comes down to. There's very little I can negatively say about the show, except for 2 or 3 episodes that just either don't make sense or I don't like the art design for. But I love the animation in Gurren Lagann throughout, like, well, except for 1 or 2 episodes, because there's so much, like, I mean, there's that scene where Kamina draws his sword for 100 years. It's like, shh, and he just draws it, and it's like the longest fucking sword ever. But obviously the idea is he's drawing the sword, and it's supposed to be epic, and, you know, again, making fun of the guys who, like, draw their swords slowly, and it's just like,
yeah.
You know, instead of, like, taking special angled shots where the character's just perpetually drawing the sword, they have, like, this one big body shot of him, and he's, like, just drawing this long sword, and it just never gets drawn out. And then when eventually it does come out, it's just a normal sword, you know? I love that. Like, you see, that's funny, and it's interesting, because it's making reference to, like, the type of thing that they're making fun of, but still having that same... impact of like this long drawn out sword sequence. That's what it is. And then, I mean, especially towards the second half of the anime, like the characters, there's a lot more squash and stretching.
Oh yeah.
You know, like, and a lot more like weird like bending and like what do you call the smearing. There's a lot of that towards the end, and I really like that. And I love it because the anime is still realistically drawn in the sense of anime. And it just looks pretty. You know, it's action packed. The characters are big and loud. Jumping to Kill a Kill, one of my favorite characters, and not because he's a good character in particular, though he is a good character, is Gamagori. For me, because of basically the character sheet given to animators was he is the biggest. Like that is what he is. He has no character size chart. I mean, except for when they're doing the realistic thing. As long as he is bigger than everybody else, and that's to me way more exciting, way more interesting for animation than sad character, you know, like.
Well, I remember there was this comic on Tumblr that when Wesley was first telling me how much he tried watching Attack on Titan and just didn't like it. But when we were both getting into Kill la Kill, and I was on Tumblr, and there's this really funny comic of Gamagor. It's the colossal Titan is going over the wall, like he's looking over the wall. It's like supposed to be like a 50-foot wall or something, going over the wall, and on the other side is Gamagori staring him down, and the colossal Titan shrinks back. And so I had to show this comic to Wesley. I'm like, Wesley, this is for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's way interesting to me. And so Kamina is a very interesting character. You know, he's strong, and he even says he doesn't feel strong. He thinks Simone is the strong character. You know, because he's like, he watches Simone, and Simone's always working hard, and he just feels he just has to he just has to push. And then Simone feels like, no, he's not bro, Kamina is the big strong character.
Yeah.
You know, he's the one that pushes me to that next level, you know, and it's like this really nice relationship between the two.
Which I really liked, because because as I was telling you earlier, that I really loved Simone's, his character development. Like, to me, Simone was by far the most interesting character, because, like, he starts off with, no, bro is the best. Like, he's the one that deserves all the glory and everything. And then it, like, not to give too much away, because that's basically the entire anime, but Simone's character development is he grows into the man that he needs to be.
Yeah.
Like, and to me, that was beautiful.
Like, he does become the him that believes in himself.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole "I believe in me who believes in you" is partly gibberish, but it makes that little bit of sense in the back of your head, right? Like, you believe in the you that believes in yourself, because there's that you. There's everybody has that disconnect of themselves. I think, again, I don't know everybody's thoughts, but I have this disconnect. There's me, and then there's my body. Or there's this thing inside my brain that's another me, and that's like the me looking out on me and like just judging me.
I think a lot of people have that.
Yeah, I would imagine so. I mean, it's like you being aware as a creature, you would need to be aware that there's this. You know, it's like, it's not realistic, but it's definitely your sentience looking down on you.
I call it my rhetorical self, because I have frequent conversations with the rhetorical me.
Right. I mean, so I think a lot of people do talk to themselves, and so that's who it is. That's what the believe in me who believes in myself is. It's like that person who thinks that you can be the greatest thing you can be. That's who you have to trust, because when you trust who that person wants you to be, then you'll be that person. And it's you know, it sounds gibberish. It sounds like, ooh, hang in there, little kitten poster on the wall. But it's what it is, and it's what sometimes we need as a species, because we are the weirdest species. If we do not see the sun for 3 days, we get depressed. You know, we need this big fireball in the sky. It's not a fire, it's a nuclear ball, but whatever. You know, and it's the same thing. We need these constant little jabs of reassurance from other people, because other people made the show, and there are other people who feel this way. And you slightly feel this way, and that's what connects you to, is this show that they made, that they want you to feel strong and moving on to the next level. I'm speaking a lot with my hands, and he's looking at me like, please don't hit me.
I know, I'm kind of like...
Yeah, so, again, I love the show. We watched half of it in the Japanese dub, and then half of it in the English dub. And
we have a tendency to we usually eat dinner or breakfast when we watch shows, so... And whenever we eat, we don't like to watch a lot of subtitles, read a lot of subtitles. Yeah,
it's just more convenient, because I mean, I want to eat. I don't want to spill in. But yeah, like I will say, I mean, there's very few anime that's got good English voice acting.
Yeah.
A lot of the English voice acting sounds like people in different rooms talking to each other.
Yeah.
And sadly, that's just the price that you pay for, because in anime, everything's obviously, you know, they can't reanimate the mouths, you know, so it's like a lot of the time they have to talk. It's like, okay, the mouth opens 10 times, you must say 10 words or 10 syllables at that time. And so that's what they write down. They're like, these are the 10 syllables you say. So it's like, okay, now say this as if you're scared, but within this time frame. And it's like, I'm going to be running away. It's like, you know, there's a lot of sort of that, this weird disconnect. And when they talk to each other, when they're shouting and they're at the top of their lungs, that energy is not there, but in the Japanese version, I feel the energy is there. Though I have seen bad Japanese voice acting. There was this anime. I think it was Gundam. Was it Gundam Zero? It was one of the Gundams, Gundam Wings anime. And there's the sequence. I'm sorry to jump off the track again, but we are talking about robot anime. And there's the sequence where the main character, I can't remember, it was so long ago, but the main character, and this is all in Japanese, is like, he's, I think, a friend of his, he just found out he's on the other team or something. Again, I can't remember. But he starts crying, and he's screaming at the wall, like he's like, he's like, his arm is resting against the wall, and he's screaming, and he's like, ah! But the thing is, it's like this one line, like this one tone scream, like, ah! And the other character, this female character, walks in, and she's like, "What's wrong? I heard you crying." But he wasn't crying like, he was screaming like this, and it was just so fucking funny because she had like, if somebody was screaming like that in the hallway and you were concerned, you'd be like, "Holy shit, dude, were you screaming in the hall?" She was like, "Oh, I heard you crying." It was so disconnected from everything. I'm like, geez, if I understood Japanese and Japanese dialects a bit better, I would imagine this is actually pretty terrible at voice acting.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I like watching in Japanese. Because I don't hear the bad voice acting if there is any.
Yeah, which is probably why even in the Western culture, you always get those people that are just like, "Oh, subs are better than dubs."
Yeah, there is some anime that has good dubbing. I felt Fooly Cooly had good English dubbing.
Yeah, me too.
Or at least relatively decent English dubbing. But there's been one or two recently that I was like, oh wow, I actually wouldn't mind watching this in English because it's not terrible. Yeah, so with Gurren Lagann, my recommendation is listen to it in English. I mean, listen to it in Japanese, but it's not terrible in English. It's just a bit disconnect.
Yeah, there is a slight disconnect, but if you can, as of right now, it is on Netflix, so try to watch it before it goes away.
One thing with a Netflix dub, I don't know if you felt the same way. In the Japanese, I felt the audio levels were much better. Like, because in the English version, like, there'd be an explosion, but the voice would still be louder than the explosion. Like, it was almost as if the explosion was muted.
I didn't notice.
Like, it felt like, because there was a lot of times, it's like, run away! It was like this, like, I'm like, okay, I guess that's the explosion you're going with, whereas in the Japanase version, everything was sort of, like, really nicely leveled out. That's something I noticed. Yeah, other than that, I don't really have much else to say.
I just have to say, if you like Kill la Kill, try this one out. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and if you like this one, watch Kill la Kill.
Oh, heck yeah. Kill la Kill is so... Man, we gotta do that one. I want to watch that again.
Well, I do need to rewatch it, and mostly to see, because I feel so stupid. There's a scene, a friend of ours was like, I can't believe the mom finger bangs the daughter, and I didn't see that. Like,
I was the one that told you that.
Was it you? Yes. And I'm like, oh, I guess...
That must have just flown right over your head.
Yeah, I don't remember it, but that happens sometimes. Sometimes, like, we'll be talking about, what the hell are you talking about? And I think what happens is, because a lot of the time I'm reading the text, so, this is the downside to reading and like, listening to the Japanese and reading the subtext.
I guess the reason that I remember it is because when I was watching it on the downstairs TV, and of course, when that scene happens, my mom suddenly pops in the room, and I'm like, oh god.
That's the rule. You've got to know. If there's a dirty sequence, like, I mean, it even happens in video games. You could be playing the game forever, and you're like, yeah, look at all this violence and death I'm doing, and then next minute it's like, oh, a sex scene. Friends walk in, you're like, guys, really? Now when I'm watching the sex scene? Great, thanks. I just sort of let it happen now. I don't even care.
Oh, okay. Well, I
think as you get older, you stop caring about things.
Okay. But yeah, so I guess that's one of the reasons why I was like why you
remember it better.
Yeah, that's probably why I remember it better, which is like, I don't know, whatever.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe one day we'll review Kill la Kill. We've got a bunch of other reviews that we want to look at still.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of terrible movies we need to review.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to wrap up?
No, not really. Just, man, it's so ridiculous. It is so utterly ridiculous, this whole anime. But man, I got so invested in the characters. I love Leroy. Leroy's probably my favorite.
Oh, the sort of gay engineer?
Yeah, I love him. I don't know, he was so I want to say sharp. You know, he was just very knowledgeable, and I was really happy that he played a really big part in the whole thing. And he's the engineer, so he's not just this throwaway character. He like, oh, I need to repair the robot, but he's also just got this really weird personality. He scares the children, which is funny. Love Leroy. I love Nia. Even though I love Nia when she's just this really young, ignorant girl, and she's just like, ooh, what's happening? Yay!
Oh yeah, Nia's a really nice character too. She has a very interesting design.
Yeah.
And her change as well is like really, it's great because I mean she becomes this darker character, but still has that light side inside of her.
Yeah, and Simone I think is probably my favorite because I love watching this character grow. He's such an adorable little dork. Kamina is great. I think he's probably your favorite character.
Kamina is definitely...
I loved Yoko, too. Like, even though sometimes I have, like, mixed feelings about her, just because, like, sometimes she kind of gets pushed away for the other characters, which I guess makes sense. She's sort of a secondary. But I love her at the end. When, you know, she just wants to settle down, but then suddenly robots happen, and she's like, looks like I gotta take up the guns again, and looks like I gotta fight, just, you know. Just like, okay, I guess this is happening now. Just no one cares, and she just goes on.
Yeah, no, it's... All the characters, especially the main ones, very compelling, I feel very well written for the most part. And I actually am looking forward to watching those movies, because I've always wanted more.
And now you have more.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up then. Is there anything you want to pump?
My usual, neuroticartist.tumblr.com, neurostreet.deviantart.com. I need to do more art.
Don't we all? I mean, we're very busy anyway. Making cartoons. I'm making cartoons adults aren't watching. And you're making cartoons, I guess, that some adults are watching. Not ponies necessarily, but Littlest Pet Shop?
Yeah, Littlest Pet Shop, which apparently some people in the pony fandom hate.
I would imagine so, because of the whole taking some of our voice actors and taking some of the fandom. Because I remember when it first came out, the bronies were like half of them were like, oh yeah, another show that looks the same and has the same aesthetic, but then they sort of came back and they were like, no, it's not as funny. I
don't know. I love it because it's got so much self-referential humor. Mm-hmm. And I love that. Yeah. Like, there's, like,
It's not my cup of tea, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. But I do enjoy watching some of it with you because I know how much you enjoy it, so...
It's definitely doesn't have the stronger plot line that Ponies does.
Maybe we can review it one time.
I'd love to.
We can even maybe put it into, like, the sections. I know for the end of the year I'd like to do, like, a top X amount of, like, our favorite cartoons for the year.
Yeah, I know that I have a baby cousin back home who loves Littlest Pet Shop, so it makes me so happy. I'm gonna come home for Christmas and I'm gonna be like, hey, guess what? I work on that show.
Yeah, I've got no family that will watch Jake and the Neverland Pirates because they're all adults. It's like, you know, anyway. Yeah.
I know my parents were interested in watching it, and my dad was like, so I can, like, watch this show on television, right? And I'm like, yes, you can. I'm like, you can even watch it on Netflix, so...
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got the usual, also, thelastboon.tumblr if you want to see my art, but I haven't really released anything brand new recently. But I did guest appear on a podcast called Cynical Cartoons, if you're wanting to go support them. They're on iTunes and on the internet, and on YouTube and such. And we, in 3 episodes, we did some commentary over BoJack Horseman and what we felt about that show mostly. So yeah, we work on BoJack Horseman season 2. There's a lot bit there. And if you want to contact, the emails are all at the bottom of the YouTube list, but it is theanonymousanimators@gmail.com. And the anonymators.tumblr.com.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll see you guys later.
Bye.